everybody, it's the Canon Cruisers. I'm JD, and this is Randy, and we're here to talk to you about a movie called Missing in Action 2, The Beginning, from 1985, but filmed in 1984. So, Randy, why don't you tell us a little bit about this film?
Okay, so as you said, we have it narrowed down to being released in March 1st of 1985, but the movie was actually filmed and completed before the original film, Missing in Action.
Which we already
talked about in the first season. So for those unfamiliar with Missing in Action, it is about a group of POWs during the Vietnam War being tortured by the Viet Cong and the eventual escape of some of them.
And in the sequel, apparently Braddock goes back and rescues the rest of them.
Yes. So the cast, the only thing you really need to know is you have Chuck Norris playing Colonel Braddock, Soon-Tek Oh as Colonel Yin, our villain, and Stephen Williams as Captain David Nestor, how would you put him? He's the guy he's the American that betrays them for a better life, but redeems himself in the end. And then the rest is just nobody really of note here going on beyond that. You have Bennett Oda as Captain Ho, Cozy Costa as Mazzilli, Joe Michael Terry as Opelka, Christopher Carey as Emerson, John Wesley as Frankie, David Chung as Do Chow, Professor Toru Tanaka as Lau, and Sergio Kato as a stunt double. Like, we gave you the whole entire summary of the film.
So then, here's the trailer.
Here is the trailer.
Vietnam, 1984. Chuck Norris frees the Americans, missing in action. Now, the secret of his rage can be revealed. Missing in Action 2, The Beginning. A war he couldn't forget.
We're going down! Get ready to jump!
The story behind his return. Vietnam, 1972. Captured in a savage jungle war.
You men are not prisoners of war. You are common criminals.
Imprisoned and tortured.
He's not dead!
And that was the trailer. All right. So we'll just go with general impressions. Randy, what did you think of Missing in Action 2, The Beginning?
I don't know. I barely watched the film. I walked away at some point and started doing something else.
Compared to the original, it's not even a patch on it. I can see why when the two were made that Canon made the decision to release the second one first, because there isn't even a comparison between the two. The second one is a step down in every way from the first.
The thing that gets me, though, is that this movie is summarized in Missing in Action as a series of flashbacks.
The first 10 minutes, right?
Doing it, and it does it better summarizing it than this 95-minute movie.
It almost feels like an unnecessary sequel to the movie, but but it was actually filmed first. But the first movie, or the second movie... The original.
The only reason I can see them doing this again, like releasing this, was just like, we filmed both movies back to back. Let's make some of our money back on this.
Might as well do that, but I don't see any reason why, if you saw the original movie, you'd want to see this.
Boy, did they ever make their money back. For a movie that actually had a budget of about $2.4 million, it made somewhere around $10.7 million back.
But yeah, it was off the back of the success of the first movie. It was a surprise hit, and obviously people wanted more. They were probably disappointed when they got more, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Yeah, and since we're going straight into highlights, the highlights will be probably some of the action sequences near the end, like when he redeemed himself at the end, his friend there. There's a couple of good moments, but the action sequences are pretty flat as a whole.
This movie was so boring, so flat, so lifeless, that there was nothing really to call out and go, that was great. Even the final action sequence was bland.
Yeah, the best thing to say about the movie is that it was bland, and that's not a good thing to say for the best thing about the movie. But it's not. It's not like, say, The Exterminator 1, where I had to struggle to say anything positive about it because everything made me hate life itself. This was just a boring film. All I can really say is some of the action sequences were decent.
This seems to be a trend so far for this season, that the movies have so far been like either bland or boring. It's dull. Nothing.
It's this part. Well, obviously, also too, you have to remember, because we started at the beginning of 1985. This is also like the beginning of the movie season. They put the boring movies at the beginning of the year, and this matches up pretty well. These are boring movies.
So we'll move into the lowlights right now. For me, it's like...
Lowlight is the pacing. It's boring.
The pacing is bad. The direction is bad. It looks like a television show. It's flat. There's no dynamic shots, nothing. The action sequences are uninspired. Mm-hmm. They're boring. And the best parts of them that you do see, like this is even me saying it's a highlight. The best part you see, you've already seen them in Missing in Action, the first movie, in the flashbacks.
Yeah, that's why. As I said, if you're going to watch a Missing in Action movie, just stick with the first one.
The movie, it's like the movie is
tells
like
you everything.
Like just to give you a breakdown of the film, about the first hour of the movie, in an hour and a half movie, is just sadistic torture of American soldiers.
Yeah. Giving them a reason to want to escape and kill their tormentors.
As if they needed a reason to want to escape in the first place. But that's pretty much all it is. And it's not to the point of a modern day torture porn. It's just kind of like, it wasn't a very pleasant movie to watch. And it's like,
no,
not even trying to give them motivation. There was nothing to it. It's...
Which is a shame, because say what you want about Chuck Norris movies, but they're usually exciting. Missing in Action was exciting. The ones we're going to get to later are exciting. This one was the antithesis of exciting. It didn't use him well at all.
Mr. Norris looked bored in this movie.
They all looked bored, honestly. I think the villain was the only one who didn't look bored.
No, he was too busy hamming it up.
Which was probably why he was the only character that really stood out to me. If you're going to watch a Chuck Norris action movie from canon, this is probably near the bottom of the pile to choose from. You have far better choices than this, including the original movie. And I can see why this one was a success, simply because it piggybacked off the success of the first one. But if this came out first, I don't think the second one would have done nearly as well. Because
if this came out first, I think the series, because there's at least one more film, or is there two more films?
There's one more film later.
This movie would not have been a trilogy.
No.
This would not have been a franchise. It would have just... This movie would have came out, it would have been dead.
Yeah, and they would have put the second one out and nobody would have saw it because it would have been burned on the first one. It was, I want to say, it was an awful, terrible movie, but I can't really do it because it's just too boring for me to muster any sort of passion for it, unfortunately. It was just a boring movie I'm never going to watch again. That's all I can really say about it.
It's like so our rating. What is your rating for this film then?
My rating is, again, it's another 2 out of 5. It's boring. I can only muster out passion to give 1 out of 5 if I hate the movie so much it poisons me in a way that I can't really recover from. But this, I can't muster up any enthusiasm to really knock it down a further peg. I mean, you just watch the movie and you'll know yourself. Can we just watch the original movie instead? Let's just turn this off and watch the original.
Well, luckily we already turned it off. But for me, I'm flirting with the idea of giving it a 1. It's like, it's not listening any like passionate response, but the fact that I was so actively bored by the movie that I can't find anything that entertained me. Not even a line, not even the line after the kill, as you would call it, near the end. I don't find anything about this movie enjoyable. So it's like, it doesn't elicit as much hatred as some of my other 1-star movies like the Exterminator films or the Apple. Oh, the Apple. But I think I have to give this a 1 just because this is so not even bad, but it's...
I don't know. I can't muster the enthusiasm to give it a 1. I'd be giving it too much credit.
I can't muster the enthusiasm to give it more than a 1. Like I said, I can't find... I give it a 1. It's just there's nothing about this movie that hooks me in any way. The only reason it's like I would never watch this movie.
Yeah.
If I saw it on TV, I probably would not. Knowing what it is now, I probably would never watch it again.
No, I just flipped past it.
It's like...
When you have the original movie, there's really no reason for this movie at all.
It's like, I wouldn't even buy a box set if it had this in it.
No, I was actually faced with the decision to get this in a box set once, but I already had the original Missing in Action, so since I already had that one, you can imagine what my reaction was to seeing it. It was a simple no.
So yeah, I have to give this a 1. I don't actively outright hate it. This is the worst film of all time, but I can't bring myself up to say...
It's a forgettable movie I'm going to forget about by next week, so I'm just going to say skip this one. If you want to watch a Chuck Norris movie from canon, don't bother with this. It's not worth your time. You have much better choices, including the original movie in this series, which is far and away a better film.
And maybe the threequel, but we haven't gotten there yet. We're only going to get there later on in the series. I have never seen it before.
So with that, everybody, well, we thank you for sticking around for this episode. We're sorry it was a boring episode, but it was a boring movie, and there's not really much to talk about.
I don't even remember any of the characters beyond Braddock and Yin.
Yeah, they're pretty interchangeable. As I said, the movie doesn't really elicit any sort of response. It's just there. With that, I will just have to say we'll see you next time, folks, and hopefully it'll be a better movie. Goodbye.